So let's move on down. Today, we are going to bring in the world of quadratic equations. Okay, so we're going to just start with some basic things with quadratic equations, then we're going to move into things which are a little bit more complicated. In order for a quadratic equation to work, we use something called the rule of zero. Okay, the rule of zero. And the rule of zero is actually quite simple. The rule of zero is basically anything multiplied by 0 is equal to 0. That's the zero rule. So for example, if I had 5 times 0, what is my answer going to be? It's not a trick question. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be 0.
We used to think a lot. So
I know everyone's looking for this trap. Like, I know there's a trap here. I promise there's no trap. This is just basic. 5 times 0 is 0. Okay. If I had 3y times 0, what is that going to equal? 0. Exactly. Okay. Anything times 0 is 0. So, using that logic, if I have a times b is equal to 0, so I've got a times b is equal to 0. I know that if I'm multiplying two things together, then my answer has to become 0, which means either a is equal to 0, because then it would be 0 times b, which is equal to 0, or b is equal to 0, because then a times 0 is equal to 0, which is okay. And we use this idea of this basic rule of 0 whenever we do a quadratic equation. Okay. The other thing we need to talk about, it's the first few, I've just tried to make it a little bit easier for you, but the other thing we need to talk about is what does it mean for an equation to be quadratic? Who thinks they can tell me what does it mean for an equation to be quadratic? Tando, yes. Can you tell me what my answer is?
I think it means it has 4 expressions.
4 expressions. Oh, because you're hearing with the word quad. I hear what you're saying. So it could have 4. It could have 4 terms in the expression, but it doesn't have to have 4. It could have 1. It could have 2. It could have 3. If it's quadratic, that may give you guys a bit of a helping hand. Good, Roma. It definitely has more than one answer. Okay, it will have more than one answer. But how would we be able to know it's quadratic? Like, what would be our clue to be if we saw an equation? We could be like, that's a quadratic equation. I wonder if anyone's going to guess this. Not 0, but throw out some suggestions. So we're going to make it equal to 0, but it's not necessarily going to be equal to 0 in the beginning. It won't always have a bracket. X times x. Okay, so Alvarez, what does x times x actually mean? What is x times x? Ah, there we go. Now we're getting it. Squared, x squared. Yes, okay. There we go. Okay,
finally.
So yes, we got there. If we're looking for a quadratic equation, it means that somewhere in that equation, we're going to have an x squared. Okay, and that x squared is a little hint to us to say, if we see an x squared, we need to move everything to one side to make it equal to 0 so that we can use the 0 rule. Okay, now this one, I've already factorized for you because I just want to sort of slowly get into this so you don't feel too scared about them. So if I had to write this in a slightly different way, do you agree that I could write that as x times x plus 3 is equal to 0? So all I'm doing is I'm just rewriting it with a times sign just to make it more visual so you can see its multiplication. Now, if I've got two terms, so like I've got this dude and I've got this dude, I'm multiplying them together, and I'm using the rule of 0, that means that one of these must be 0. So we can say, well, therefore, x is equal to 0. So that's my first one. Just going to unhighlight this so that I can do it a different color. So x would be equal to 0, or this guy is going to be equal to 0. So either this is going to be equal to 0, or this is going to be equal to 0. And if x plus 3 is equal to 0, and I want to know what x is, how would I figure out what x is from this point over here? I'm glad you remember doing it in class. That's good. Yes, great. I see some answers coming in the chat. So it's definitely going to be -3. So all we would do is, this is now just a normal linear equation. We're going to move that 3 over. And when that 3 moves over, it's going to change its order of operation. And so it will become -3. Okay. And so what we land up with is we land up with two different answers. We land up with the one answer where x could be 0, or the second answer where x could be -3. Okay. Unati, how can I help?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, like in at school they taught us that it can never be a negative answer. So
A square root can never be a negative answer.
no, ma'am, but okay, ma'am, I get it. Sorry.
Okay. No, don't apologize. Always good to ask questions.
A good
Questions
question.
are never bad things.
Yeah.
Yusuf, how can I help?
Good evening, ma'am. Sorry to bother you. I was going to ask, why could like, if we get this type of question in our exam, would they be like two answers towards it, or would they accept one?
No, you have to have both answers. So with quadratic equations, you always have to have two answers. If you only have one answer, then you know you've made a mistake.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
Mm.
Tando, how can I help?
Sorry, ma'am. Can you please explain again what did you do to the egg, the egg day before the bracket?
Oh, so this x is just saying this step over here, this sort of second step. You don't have to write the step. I'm just writing it out so you can see what it actually means. When we have an x before a bracket, that just means times. So that's just saying x times everything in that bracket. So I was just rewriting it like that so that it would look something like this, so that it would follow how we learned about the 0 rule.
Oh, okay.
Nkateko, hello.
Ma'am, why didn't we like do the normal factorization process where x would be x squared and 3x and stuff?
Okay, so you're talking about the opposite of factorization. You're talking about expanding. So if I had x times x plus 3, and that's equal to 0, and I multiplied this in, I would land up with x squared plus 3x, which is equal to 0. That's a quadratic equation. Now, when we get to this point over here, we have only got one option, and that is to factorize. And if we are trying to factorize, we're actually just going to go back to our original question.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, what happens to the 0 when we move the 3? So that's 0. If I was to write this as 2 steps over here, let's just write this out. If I had, if I moved that 3 over, I'm saying x is equal to 0 minus 3, and 0 minus 3 is just -3. So it's not that the 0 disappears, it's just that 0 minus 3 becomes -3. Okay. Okay, let's try, oh, sorry, yes, Alvarez? Oh, that's this x over here. So that x is just equal to 0. There's nothing else I can do with it. There's no number or anything I can move. So I can't be like it's equal to something else. It is just equal to 0. Okay, I'm going to try and keep this on the screen so you can see it while you work through the second one. But I would like to know what my 2 answers for B are. So we have done factorization already. We're going to have to use the things we learned in factorization in this course. We're going to be using factorization today and next week, Tuesday, but we have done it as a course. So the lessons will be on the website. Tiana, can I help?
Ma'am, can I give the answer?
Can you talk me through it?
I don't know, because I don't feel confident because I'm still confused. But I don't know. I feel very confident, but
Okay, tell me what you
Can I
wrote.
just say what the answer is? Because I don't know what step here way. Because I know like x equals the first x equals to positive 5 and the other x equals to negative 2.
Okay, that's absolutely right. That's 100% right. Let's talk about how we would set that up. Okay, so we would set that up by breaking up our 2 brackets. So this first bracket over here, this x minus 5, we're going to write that as x minus 5 is equal to 0. So that's that first one. Okay, and then our second option is we're going to say or, and then we're going to choose this dude over here, and we're going to say x plus 2 is equal to 0. So when we're setting it up, this is how we're going to sort of set it up. So we're going to say that's equal to 0 or this is equal to 0. And then when we're wanting our answer, we can see we need to move our negative 5 over. So then x would be equal to 5. And here we would move our 2 over. So x would be equal to negative 2. So what you did was your answers were 100% right. X is 5 and x is negative 2. But when you're explaining it, explain it like that. This whole bracket could equal 0 or this whole bracket could equal 0. Okay.
Then I have a question though.
Sure.
How much marks do we get for this?
How many
How much
marks?
Yeah.
It depends, but probably 2 marks for this type of question.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Alvarez is the complete opposite. Great. Always a good start. Always a good start. I just want to see if I missed anything. So this first step here, it's not compulsory. Sometimes you do need it as the things get more complicated, but it's not a compulsory step, but it does stop you from making silly mistakes. So it's something that will maybe take 2 seconds of your time, but will really make sure that your answers are correct. So I think it's worth it, personally.
Ma'am,
Hi.
ma'am, I wanted to say, is the 0 factor law?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay. I was kind of confused. It looked like the same, so I was like, what?
No, it's exactly the same. That's what we're using as we're working through this.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Okay. Timbela, how can I help? Oh, have you disappeared? All right. Nkateko?
Ma'am, does the first step count for marks?
No. So what I was saying, the step's not compulsory. That step is just for you to stop you from making a mistake later on.
Okay, and then there's or, like, O.
You do need to write the or. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Kelebogile, how can I help?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Is it compulsory to put the or between x is equals to 5 and x is equals to minus 2?
You do need to have that or, yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Sure. The reason we put the or there, guys, is because later on in maths, we have questions where it's asking for different x values, and it could be x is this and this. So there's a big difference in maths between or and that's why we always need to be careful. Okay. All right. I'm going to put both of these on the board at the same time. Let's see how you do. So for C, I'd like to know what my answers are, and then for D, I'd like to know what my answers are. D, I've tried to trick you. Just going to warn you now that in D, There is a trap. There's a trap here. Don't walk into my trap. Junior, how can I help? So Junior, you need to unmute from your side.
Okay, hello, ma'am.
Hi, hi.
Means I just want to ask, because what about we have x minus 5? What about when we have x plus 2 and then on the following step then we have x minus 5? What is going to be our answer?
So if we have x plus 2 and then x minus 5, like that.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
then our
ma'am.
next step is we're going to say this is equal to 0 or this is equal to 0. Oh, sorry. I'm skipping.
Okay, thank you, miss.
Okay. Cool. Renata, are you giving me my answers for C?
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful. What are
Ma'am,
my answers for
but
C?
before that, ma'am, I wanted to ask, right now, you have to make the brackets equal to 0. So would it be wrong if I took the x that is with the first bracket and also added with the second bracket?
It would be wrong. We definitely don't want to, at the moment, it's we don't want to move anything right now.
Ma'am, but how we were taught it is that you move, because we had a question and then there was a 5 before the first bracket and then we added it with the second bracket. And then after that we factorized and then we divided it until we got our answer.
The thing is that this one's already been factorized for you. So this is fully factorized. This is fully factorized. It's all one term. We're just trying to find our answers.
Okay, ma'am. So can I give you my answer?
Sure.
Let me try. So, ma'am, so you're gonna take x and put and the first bracket equal to 0.
What about this x? What I'm going to say, so you say I must write it like this?
Yes, ma'am, equals to 0.
So I'm going to help you a little bit. I like that part.
So, ma'am, then what do you do with the x? What happens to it?
We'll talk about it. We'll give him a chat. Can you tell me just finish off the rest of what you've done so far, though?
Okay, ma'am. And then I said, or
good.
X plus 9 equals 0.
Good. That's good. Okay. So what would my two values of x be for these two equations?
Ma'am, the value for x.
Yeah. So what would x be?
Ma'am, x would be 4.
Good.
For the first bracket. And then the x for the next bracket, x will be -9.
Beautiful. Okay,
well done,
that's great.
Nancy.
So those are two of my answers. Okay, so at the moment, if this was out of 3 marks, I've got 2 marks. Now we've got to deal with this little x over here. That's the same as me saying x times x minus 4 times x plus 9. So I'm actually allowed to say right from the beginning, x is equal to 0. It's the same situation as that x over there. That x just automatically becomes 0. So if you have an x that's on the outside of your brackets like that, we can just say that x would be 0.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, can I do D?
I'm just going to see if someone else wants to do D first, and then try and share the love around a little bit, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the hands that are up, if they were to answer C, you can lower them. If they were to answer D or to ask a question, then keep them up for me, okay? All right, Camila, how can I help?
Ma'am, I did a little bit differently. Like,
okay,
how we do this, we do it, the formula a little bit differently.
The formula?
Yes, it's the same, but it's just we just do it a little bit differently.
Okay, so how do you do this?
We first say when x minus 1 equals 0, and then we say x equals 0 plus 1.
Oh, that's totally fine. Yeah, you're just adding a step. That's totally fine.
Okay.
Did you get to the same answers in the end?
I think so.
That's great.
So the answer is 1 or 2, and then 0/3.
Oh, so close. Okay.
1 and
so
0/3.
yeah, your 1 is great. The 1, x is equal to 1. I love that. Your x minus 2 is equal to 0, so x is equal to 2. I love that. But you went into my trap with this 3. You went right into my trap. So thank you for walking into my trap. Let's see if anyone else fell for my trap. I'm going to move down the slide and see if anyone else is going to join. Fatima, you're going to join Camila in the trap. Let's see. Are you happy with this answer? What else am I going to do? Because I've got this 3 chilling here.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
So what we learned in school, our teacher told us that if there's a number outside, it's non-applicable.
Great. Well, oh, not non-applicable. So we still get an answer, but the 3, it's not important. It's not going to affect our x value, basically.
Done, Fatma.
But it's a good start though.
Yeah.
So let's try and talk this through. So I'm just going to try and take you guys out of your misery now, to help you out. When we see a question like this, first of all, we think, okay, x is probably equal to 0 when we're looking at that 3. Or we'd be like, no, x must be equal to 3. Or wait, no, maybe x must be equal to -3. We have all of these thoughts because there's a 3. So we're like, that 3 must be something. Maybe the 3 is equal to 0, okay? And we're like, what do I do with this 3? But the thing is that 3 is purely there to throw you off course. That's its whole purpose. Its whole purpose is to mess with your brain, okay? Because if I wrote this equation like this, okay, and I moved this 3 to the other side, I'm currently timesing that 3. So when it moves to the other side, I divide by 3, right? So I'd have x minus 1, x minus 2 is equal to 0/3. What does 0/3 equal? What does 0/3 equal? 0, exactly. It equals 0. And so when we have a number that's chilling in the front, we can basically just ignore it. It's not going to affect our answers. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to be equal to anything, because if I divided both sides by it, it would just fall away. And so because it would just fall away when I move it to the other side, we get to ignore it. So here we would only have 2 answers, x equals 1 and x equals 2. If it's an x before that bracket, then that x would be equal to 0, like this one. Okay. All right, the hands that are up, if they are to ask questions, please keep them up. And if they are not, then drop them for me. Timbela, hello.
Ma'am, evening, ma'am.
Evening.
In school, we were taught that here by number D, we were taught FOIL.
Okay, so FOIL is great. It's just not going to help us when we're trying to solve an equation. So the same as expanding out. So like if we're doing FOIL, we re-multiplying out. We'd be getting to something, and then we'd have to refactorize to get back to this question. So FOIL is definitely something, if in the question it says simplify or expand or find the product, then we would definitely do FOIL. But if we're solving for x, we want to do it like this.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. All right, Kerabokile, hello.
Wait, so ma'am, this is the final answer.
That's our final answer. We're done.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Latabo.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Ma'am, what if the number in the front also like it's 2 numbers in the front, like 3 plus 1? What will happen then?
So the 3, that would become problematic. So that's not one term anymore, that's two terms because we've got a plus sign involved. And so then we would have to do something to do with factorization. But we'll get to those types of questions as we move through this.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. All right, last one, and then we're going to move on down. Jasmine.
Is the section compulsory?
All sections in maths are compulsory.
All right.
But Jasmine, remember, every time we learn something new, it feels confusing in the beginning, and then it feels less confusing the more we do it. We've just learned this. It's the first day. Don't panic. Don't be hard on yourselves. It will get easier. Today's quick stuff have a little bit, I think, quadratics. We'll see. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Okay, let's talk this one through a little bit. What I've got over here is x minus 2 in brackets, and then that is being squared. If I wanted to write that out a different way, so I want to write that out a different way. Who has a suggestion on how I could write this out to just keep it nice and easy? And I don't want to have a square involved because that square is throwing me off. How can I write this without having a square involved? Tiana, can you tell me how to write this without a square?
Ma'am, must say open bracket x minus 2 in another one, open bracket x minus 2.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, now does that not look a whole lot less scary? That looks way less scary. Okay, if that was where I was at now, Tiana, oh, I've lost you. That's fine. If this is where I'm at now, and I'm trying to find my answer, now it's not so bad to find my answer because I can say, well, this bracket is equal to 0 or this bracket is equal to 0. So x minus 2 is equal to 0 or x minus 2 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 2. So both of my answers, x is equal to 2. But it's the same. Same. So x minus 2, x minus 2. Not so bad. It looked scarier than it was. Yeah, it's not bad. It looks scary and it's not scary. Inkteco, hello.
Ma'am, why isn't there a plus sign in the other bracket?
Because this is squared. So this square is meaning that these two brackets have to be exactly the same as each other. If I wrote 5 squared, that's 5 times 5. Those numbers have to be exactly the same.
So, ma'am, even if it's cubed?
If it's cubed, then I would have 3 of those identical brackets.
Okay. Thank you.
Tiana, hello.
Ma'am, like, if I don't write the O, is my answer wrong?
Please write the O.
But what happens if I forget?
I'm telling you, write the O. Just
But
get into the habit of writing that O.
Just like it may make better
I'm not
answer.
asking you to climb Mount Everest, yeah? I'm asking you to write O. O. Like the smallest word that's ever existed. It's 2 letters. Jeez. It's like I'm asking for huge things happening over here. Camila, hello.
Ma'am, like, how do we end this question? Do we say x is equal to 2, or do we say x is equal to 2 or 2?
I would leave it exactly like this. Because
Oh.
you don't need to do anything more, but you could just say x is equal to 2. But I would just leave it here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Alvarez, I see you, and I don't want that and anywhere near me right now. We're not in the land of ands. We're in the land of ors. Ors.
The land of ors.
Okay, Tando.
Man, I wanted to ask, when we go forward with this, will it have like 3 brackets?
It can have 3 brackets, but more likely we'll get to questions where you first have to factorize.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, guys. Okay, let's do these two questions very quickly and then we're moving on. Latabo, hello.
Ma'am, what if the exponent is 3?
Then it would just be 3 identical brackets.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Now we get to a more interesting question. Now we have a question where we have 2x squared plus 2. So when we start having questions like this, there are certain things we have to notice. The first thing we have to notice is we have to notice that we have an x squared. Okay, so these are things that we need to start noticing when we see things. When we see an x squared, our brain needs to think this is a quadratic equation. And if it's a quadratic equation, we need to make sure everything is equal to 0. That's the first thing we need to do. And then the second thing we need to do is we need to factorize. And if we are factorizing, we think highest common factor, dots, trinomial. Okay, so we see it's an x squared. We think, okay, it's quadratic. We need to make sure it's equal to 0. It is already equal to 0. Great. That means we get to move on to step 2. Step 2 says we need to factorize. I've got 2x squared plus 2x. How can I factorize that? Is there a highest common factor? Camila, hello.
The highest common factor of x squared is x. So we say 2x.
Beautiful. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to take 2x out and I'm going to be left with what's going to be inside my bracket.
X plus 2. 2. It's 2? X.
When I multiply this by this,
no,
people are helping you in the chat, Camila. Look at the chat.
One.
Got there. You got there. You can thank the friends in the chat who saved you.
Thank you, friends. Thank
Well done, Camila. Great.
Okay, so guys, remember when you re-multiply that, you have to get to that term. That's why it has to be a 1, because 2x times 1 will give me 2x. So we get to this point over here. We have it, it's factorized, it's one term. That means we can start using our rule of 0, okay? Rule of 0 is saying that this is equal to 0 or this is equal to 0. So that's exactly what we write. We say 2x is equal to 0 or x plus 1 is equal to 0. In 2x is equal to 0, if I want to get x to be alone, I do what we were doing in our normal equations. I'm dividing by the coefficient of x. And I see that x is equal to 0 divided by 2, which is 0. On the other side, I'm going to move that 1 across. So I'm going to have 0 minus 1, and 0 minus 1 is just negative 1. So my two answers here are x is equal to 0 or x is equal to negative 1. Now, when you're giving marks for questions like this, you would get a mark for the factorizing stage. And then you would get a mark for each of your answers. But if you only give one answer and it's a quadratic, you might not get that mark. They may give you 0 for your answers if you only have one. Because you need to know if it's x squared, that there should be 2 answers.
3 points in the bag, guys. It's very important.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, Tiana, hello.
Ma'am, see the negative 1, ma'am. I'm now confused. But no, wait. I'm not confused on that. I'm confused by the other side. They're by the 2's because I see 0 over 2 equals 0 completely. Ne?
Yeah.
Like, that must be the answer. But what happens if I just put the 0?
And you
Like,
just said 2x is equal to 0.
yeah.
But you're not then telling me what x is, because that still has a 2. You remember when you're solving for x has to be by himself. So we have to divide by that 2, otherwise x isn't alone.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Cool. All right. Let's have a look at this one. So we've got 3x squared is equal to 9x. First step, we have to say, hold on, we have an x squared. That x squared is telling me it is a quadratic. What is the first thing I have to do if it is a quadratic equation? What is the first thing I have to do? Fighters got it. Yes, good. I have to get it to equal to 0. Okay, the first thing I have to do is make it equal to 0. So this 9x is in my way at the moment. I got to move that 9x over so that it's equal to 0. So I'm going to say 3x squared minus 9x, because it's jumping over the equal sign, is equal to 0. That's our first step, equal to 0. Done. Okay, first step, equal to 0. Second step, factorize. Okay, in this one, exactly, it is a highest common factor. And what is my highest common factor? 3x. Good. You guys are smashing this. And I'd be left with x minus 3 is equal to 0. And then we do exactly the same thing we just did. This is equal to 0, or this is equal to 0. Or x minus 3 is equal to 0. And this left-hand side, I need x to be alone. So I'm going to divide by my coefficient, and I'm going to divide by my coefficient. So x is equal to 0, or move that 3 over, x is equal to 3. And those are my two answers for x.
I feel like now we're accelerating. My people are on fire. Well
Yeah.
done.
Okay, Neo, how can I help? But you were there and then you left. Hello?
Ma'am, I want to ask, so where did the 9 go? Because like now I see x minus 3 equals to 0.
Okay, so in this step over here, sweetheart, we factorized. So we took out our highest common factor. And when we factorize, when we re-multiply this in here, we need to get what we started with. So 3x times x, that gives me 3x squared. And 3x times negative 3, that gives me negative 9x. So what we did over here is we factorized by taking out a highest common factor.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Okay. I feel like that one's too easy for you now. Oh, it's brain break time. Okay, I have two because I was worried that you would find the first one too easy or you already knew the answer. So I've got one which is an English one, like a riddle, and then one which is the maths picture one. Let's see. Okay, first one. What has 13 hearts but no body or soul?
That's kind of hard.
Have I beaten TikTok?
I think so. Well, whoop.
Oh no! They see it! People got it! Not Minecraft. Me. Mathematics. No. A murderer. Oh my gosh. A murderer hopefully has a body. But I did see someone had the right answer just now. Where did it go? Minecraft. It was after that. It is indeed a pack of cards, a deck of cards, not a cat. A cat has a body.
Someone said body.
Not a caterpillar. It is a deck of cards because a deck of cards or a pack of cards has got 13 hearts, as in the hearts, the suites of hearts. If you like ace of hearts, 2 hearts.
Cat.
I know, and octopus, guys, they still have bodies. They just have like an octopus body or a cat body. Gosh, okay. All right. The maths one is quite easy. So let's see how quickly you can solve it. I'm sorry, it's very granular. Didn't copy across well.
No,
I'm going to know.
You're making me hungry.
And I'm sorry.
Oh.
Who thinks they can tell me what my answer is? Yeah. It's not 70. Nope. 70 is incorrect. Well done, Tiana. Tiana, nice work. There we go. We're getting in there. It is indeed 15, guys. It is 15. Okay. These all have to be 10 because 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30, which means this is 10 and this is 10, which means our burgers must be 5, which means our chips must be 2 and 2, so that's a single chip. So we've got 1 times 10, which is 10, 5 plus 10, which is 15. Tiana, yeah.
Ma'am, I just like to say, that I never used to beat those girls when I first came in those classes. But I'm happy I understand maths now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm passing.
Getting there, eh? Yes, progress.
That's sweet, Tiana. Well done.
Nice job, Tiana. Okay, let's move into some more quadratics. Okay, let's have a look at this one. I've got x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. So x squared is telling me it is quadratic, which means it needs to equal 0, which is right. Okay. Now I need to factorize. How do I factorize this? What do I do? Dots. Yes. Dots.
You guys are
Difference
nailing
of
it.
2 squares, guys. Okay. So x plus 3, x minus 3 needs to equal 0, which means this equals 0 or that equals 0. So x plus 3 needs to equal 0 or x minus 3 is equal to 0. So x is equal to negative 3 or x is equal to 3. And again, you'll get a mark here for factorizing and then marks for your answers. For those of you saying, why can't I move it over and do a square root? Let's talk about it. X squared is equal to 9. Let's say we did that. You can square root. You can square root that 9. But what happens when you square root that 9 is what you probably are going to do is you'll get that answer like that. You'll say x is equal to 3. Now, the problem with that is you are missing an entire answer. And that's because when we square root, we should always have a plus or minus. It could be negative or positive 3. And the problem with doing it this way is that people forget about that plus and minus, and so then they get no marks instead of 3 marks. So you can do it this way, but if you're going to do it this way, you have to be extremely careful. And because of that, I don't recommend it, because when you're stressed in a test or an exam, you're generally not careful. You rush. And so that's why this method, although it looks like it's much longer, is one that I would say that you should go with. Don't panic, guys. It will get back. Your brains will adjust. Okay, I'm going to give you one for you to try by yourselves. Or 2. Let's try these 2. Okay, so I would like my answers for J and my answers for K.
Let's do this, guys. Oh. Nice.
Caleb Okilia, are you going to give me an answer?
No, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm asking you to move up so that I can screenshot, because then I was still writing.
Do you get it?
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. No problem. Okay, Unati, can you do J for me?
Let's try it. All of us, guys. It's the last one. 2 last one for the night. Let's do this.
Where'd you go? Unati?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, first step.
You're gonna do dots.
So, well, before I can do dots, I have to move it over.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I'm going to do dots. When I do dots, what do I land up with?
open bracket x plus 4 close bracket open bracket x minus 4 close bracket equals 4.
Equals 4.
Equals 0. Sorry.
Ooh, okay, thank you. Okay, next step.
Then ma'am, you're gonna say x plus 4 equals 0.
Good.
Or x minus 4 equals 0.
Good. So then my final answers are going to be
X equals to negative 4 or x equals to 4.
beautiful. Well done. Excellent. Good. Good.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, if no one wants to answer K, may I please answer it?
I have a feeling that there's some hands up that want to answer K. But thank you for your enthusiasm.
Thank you, Nati. Oh.
You know I love hearing from you. Okay, let's see. Precious. I don't think I've heard from you tonight. Do you think you can talk me through how to do K?
Afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
So, ma'am, by K, we're going to start off with dot.
Good.
And then our answer for dot is going to be x plus 8 in bracket, and then x minus 8 is equals to 0.
Good. Okay. Next step.
They're going to say x plus 8 is equals to 0, or x minus 8 is equals to 0.
Beautiful. So my final answer?
Our final answer is x is equal to negative 8, or x is equal to positive 8.
Beautiful. Nice
Ooh,
job.
well done.
Well done, Precious. Okay, I'm going to give you one more for the evening, and then I'm going to leave you to do your quiz. But I want to choose a nice, juicy one. I'm going to choose this one. Okay, I want you all to give this one a try. Give it your best go. I'll leave this one up so that you can see it. And then while you're working on this one, I'll answer some of the questions of the hands that are up. Okay, so if your hand is up and you don't want to ask a question, just bring your hand down so that I don't call on you. Okay. Or where to? How can I help?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Can you just like go back to J, ma'am? I just want a screenshot.
Sure. There's J and K.
Thank you.
Sure. Tando, how can I help?
Oh, sorry, man, I forgot to lower my hand. I wanted to answer you.
Oh, that's okay, no problem. Okay. Fatu, are you going to talk us through this one?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Tell me what to do first.
Ma'am, we're going to take out a highest common factor, which is 3.
Beautiful. You did not fall for my trap. Excellent. Okay. What's going to be inside my brackets when I do that?
X squared minus 9.
Beautiful. Okay. Next step.
And then we're going to keep our 3 and then do dots.
Okay. What are those going to look like?
X minus 3 and x plus 3.
Beautiful.
Is equals to 0.
Good. Okay.
And then x is equals to 3 or x is equals to negative 3.
Beautiful. What about that 3 that's chilling on the outside? What about this guy? What do I have to do with him? Oh, goodness, that was not what I was trying to do. What do I have to do with that one?
I don't know.
I'm telling you, your answers are right. Your answers are beautiful. What in your head, when you saw that 3, what did you think?
Nothing.
Okay.
Maybe you said we should not look at it. Maybe you said we should leave it.
That's good. That's what I was saying. That's exactly what you should do. You should leave it. Okay. That was perfect. Okay. So when you see that 3, guys, follow Fatu's way of thinking. I saw nothing. Don't just ignore it. It's not there. I saw nothing. You think nothing. Okay. When we have a number that's outside like that, we don't want to get involved with it. It's not our business. Okay. We just ignore it. So we've got our x minus 3, so x equals 3 or x equals negative 3, which is great. If you divided the 3 and the 27 all by 3, if you did that, that's totally fine. You're definitely okay to do that. We've already done number patterns, so those videos will be up on the website. Camila, is this a question?
Never mind, ma'am. Never mind.
Sure, no problem. Okay, Unati, hello.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, why do you just leave the 3?
Because I can divide the 0 by 3 and it would just go away. So because of that, we can ignore it. That's the reason. Because 0 divided by 3 is 0. That's it. No. So if you divided both of them by 3, that's also fine. So you could have also done where we're dividing everything by 3. So you would have had x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. You get to the same point. Okay, guys, I'm leaving you with the quiz. Good luck, and I will see you all on Tuesday. And Yolanda, I will see you just now.